Start with a roll call vote to open the meeting. Dave DeMore,
Here.
Joe Semyon,
Here.
Todd Rulison,
Come on, Todd.
Here.
Jane Kelly,
Here.
Mike Fitzgerald,
Here.
Joe Gillis,
Here.
Tim Munn.
Here.
And who else do we have present with us there? John Blackman's here,
Yes.
and Tim Beckett, are you here? And Kara's here. Okay. Moving on to the minutes from the September 8th meeting. Will someone make a motion to approve those?
Make that motion, please.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second. Jane Kelly.
Jane Kelly. Are there any requested changes or edits to the minutes? Hearing none, let's do a roll call vote to approve the minutes of the September 8th meeting. Tim Munn,
Aye.
Joe Gillis,
Aye.
Mike Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Jane Kelly,
Aye.
Todd Rulison. There's a delay with Todd. Joe Semyon,
Aye.
Dave DeMore.
Aye.
Aye.
Todd, we're frozen. Todd is frozen. Okay. Okay. Okay, next we'll go to budget report, which is attached to your agenda. On the revenue side, we had investment earnings, which didn't come in till after I sent that draft out. Those investment earnings for the month were $74.81. On the expenditure side, we had salaries and insurances. And under the Tryon Technology Park, there were payments made as shown on the Tryon budget report totaling $29,794. Majority of that was the final payment to Tom's Electric for the work that he did in installing the new electric service to Tryon. There was also a payment of $560 for ongoing mowing work and payments made that you'll approve later in the meeting for the emergency repairs that was done as a result of the vandalism that occurred at Tryon, and the $2,500 payment made for conducting some surveys at Tryon. So total expenditures for the month was $31,161.66 compared to revenues of $74.81. Any questions on the budget report for this past month?
Bless you.
If there are none, would someone make a motion to accept that report?
I'll
Make a motion, Jim.
Mike Fitzgerald and Jane Kelly. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, let's do a roll call vote. Dave DeMore,
Aye.
Joe Semyon,
Aye.
Todd Rulison. Is he back yet? Jane Kelly,
Aye.
Mike Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Joe Gillis,
Aye.
Tim Munn.
Aye.
Okay. Under committee reports, the monthly bank
Aye.
reconciliations were done by Todd. Todd appears still to be frozen. Apparently he doesn't have enough heat in his place either, Jane, so he's cold this morning. So once Todd thaws out, we'll ask for his report. Moving on to other reports, John Blackman from the Board of Supervisors, anything to report today?
Well, our supervisors meeting at 1 o'clock this afternoon because of the holiday yesterday, but I don't know if all of you know we had 65 people apply for the FM presidency, and Greg Truckenmiller was one of 3 that we'll be interviewing, I think, in the next month. So he did make the short list of one of 3. We're moving along with the cell tower at the solid waste department, and we are transferring the sewer district number 2 in Vales Mills to the village of Broad Auburn, and a couple demolition houses in Gloversville. One's going to the city and one will tear down. So that's it.
Any questions of John?
Oh, I don't know. I'm sure all of you know a couple of small businesses going out. The Hallmark store there in the city of Johnstown, Greg Thomas, after 38 years, is I think he's closed. And also, it's pretty certain that the movie theater in the Johnstown Mall is closed, so permanently. Okay.
Very good. Tim Beckett, can you hear us? We can't hear you. There, that's better.
There we go.
Hey, very good. Morning, Tim.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. I know Desiree sent along the notes earlier, just kind of quick recap. The biggest thing for you all, I think, is the Tryon Technology Park. We continue to push out the constant contact and flyers. I think the newer one, if you haven't seen it, should be ready fairly shortly. I know that they tried to get that over to you. So that's going pretty well. You'll see also down later, I'll skip around in their bullet points, but the business marketing and business recruitment. Ron is working with a few companies looking to move into the area. An 8 to 10 person shop. They're looking for a smaller space, as well as a 12 to 15 person facility as well that he's trying to help relocate. And then a couple of larger businesses are looking at locations. He does put the Tryon Park in front of all of them. The smaller ones weren't a fit at all. I think the larger ones are looking for something bigger or already pre-built from the way that I understand. I know he's under an NDA on a couple of them, so I can't go into too much there. Then jumping back up to the top, the CRG building projects. We're hoping to finish up our building here fairly soon. Hopefully get that open and get some people rented and moved in down there. We did our quarterly business tours, the Frank's Gun and Tackle and the Great Sackadogga Brewing. I made it over to the Great Sackadogga Brewing, so I recommend stepping in there for a beer if you have some time. They did a heck of a job redeveloping that building and have a nice little business going. Community assistance is probably the biggest thing we've been inundated with, with the pandemic. A lot of people looking for funding. There's not a ton of funding. Trying to keep lines of credit and things open for a lot of these smaller people, but also just, working through some of the issues. And then we are working on some of the, well, there won't be a DRI, but the LWRP and some of the Gloversville Johnstown initiatives, just trying to get some of the downtown Main Street projects up and going. Along with that, you'll see on the last bullet point, we did the Johnstown Gloversville Town Hall just to get to some of the developers, building owners, all together with some public officials so they know who to contact and work through issues, concerns, or try to get people working together. I mean, it's tough, especially right now with everybody, socially distancing and can't have meetings. We're just trying to keep that conversation going amongst everybody. And I think that's really, and then Ron is still working on a workforce program with AIM out at MBCC. We've had great response from the businesses in the area about working with AIM on some of their professional development, a lot of their on-site trainings that they'll do in consulting with businesses. I know he's signed up at least half a dozen, and he's got another half a dozen more that are interested in doing some of this to increase the workforce and efficiency in the area. So that's kind of what's going on this month. It's crazy, but any questions?
Thanks, Tim.
Okay.
Welcome back, Todd. Oh, he's frozen again.
Yes, I must be having a.
You know a good service provider, Todd?
Todd, did you have a chance to do the monthly bank reconciliations?
I did, and all appeared to be in order.
Very good, thank you. Moving on to old business under our IDA website. Continuing to work on that. One of the items that has been sent around for everybody to take a look at is a draft flow chart, for the lack of a better term, of our Fulton County's Economic Development Program. I emailed that out to everybody. It's a document that looks something like so. And the intent would be to have this posted on all four economic development entities' websites, to give someone who's not familiar with Fulton County and who start seeing all these names, CRG, IDA, Chamber, so forth, to have a very brief description of what role each entity plays in Fulton County's economic development program. I don't know if anyone has had a chance to look at it for review and comment. If you have any comments, we'd love to hear them. We're waiting to hear back from the CRG, the Chamber, and the Board of Supervisors with any comments they may have on the narrative descriptions of each of those entities. So it's a work in progress, and hopefully we can have something put together here and eventually agreed to and put onto everybody's website, again, to give people an understanding of how things work here in Fulton County. Any thoughts or comments?
Jim, I just wanted to mention that I did have a chance to go through it. I was reasonably satisfied with the narrative descriptions. I do think it's imperative that the CRG and the Chamber chime in on their part of those descriptions. Of greater interest for me would be to see the graphic piece that Betsy comes up with to go along with those narratives. I do think
you didn't like our beautiful display here?
Seemed a little rudimentary to me, Jim. Sorry.
There's a lot of innovative thought that was put into that, Dave.
I'm of a firm believer that, sometimes a picture says a lot more than a lot of words. And to the extent that we can craft something that visually represents the relationship between the organizations in the county, I think that would behoove us to get that accomplished. So very much looking forward to seeing Betsy's work on that.
Likewise. Okay. Moving on to Cushman Wakefield, we have requesting a motion to authorize a payment of $2,500 to Ferguson and Foss for preparing 3 property surveys at Tryon. Would someone be willing to make that motion, please?
I make that motion, Joe Simeon.
Joe Simeon? Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second, Jim.
Mike Fitzgerald. Thank you, Mike. Any questions or comments? All right, let's do a roll call vote. Dave Demore,
Aye.
Joe Simeon,
Aye.
Todd Rulison,
Aye.
Jane Kelly,
Aye.
Mike Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Joe Gillis,
Aye.
and the cold one, Tim Munn.
Aye.
Motion was approved. Moving on to the lands on the south side of 107. If you recall, at your last meeting, we discussed the fact that the town of Perth asked to have the IDA submit a request to the town to have that road on that property taken over by the town of Perth. They were asking because we are the owners of the property at present. And the board authorized having the chairman sending that letter contingent upon Tryon Organics Enterprises confirming that they would pay to upgrade the road. Subsequent to our meeting, I made that contact with Mr. Huckins and advised him of what the board had agreed to. Mr. Huckins confirmed by email that Tryon Organics would pay to upgrade the road to town specifications. And as a result, the letter to the town of Perth from Chairman Demore was mailed out. Last week, the town of Perth Town Board met and did agree officially to take over that road once it was brought up to town specifications. And at that meeting, Highway Superintendent Dopp provided Mr. Huckins with the town specifications so that there was clarity relative to what work would need to be done in order for the town to take over the road. So according to Mr. Huckins, that clears the final condition that was in their offer to purchase the property. And so what we're going to go through here in a minute would be to take the actions to authorize the sale of this parcel of land to Tryon Organics Enterprises. Okay, but first thing is this project is contingent upon the offer to purchase was contingent upon this property being included into the proposed sewer district that the county is in the process of creating out at Tryon. That sewer district would be utilizing the sewer line that runs from this property over across the street to the existing pump station that services the Tryon Technology Park. This sewer line hasn't been used for many years. And so the Environmental Design Partnership, who was hired by the county to prepare the documents necessary to create that sewer district, has recommended that that sewer line be tested to ensure that it's in working condition. Okay, don't want to sell this property and then find out that the sewer line is not working. It's broken someplace, and we'd have to go through some costly repairs to fix it. So what I'm recommending is that, in discussing this with Environmental Design Partnership, they recommended that we hire a contractor that go in to pressure test these lines. All right, and so CFI Construction, who literally their offices are a stone's throw from Tryon Technology Park, and who does this work quite a bit, was contacted, give us a quote of not to exceed $6,000 to come out there and pressure test the two sections of sewer line that exist out there. There's one part of it is a force main where wastewater is pumped from the south side of 107 across the street to the top of the hill. It then breaks there, and it's a gravity sewer line from there to the Tryon Technology Park's pump station. So they would test those two sections of line to make sure that there's no breaks or in that line and ensure that it's working. Their quote is not to exceed $6,000 to complete that work. And I do think it's necessary for us to do this, again, because it's a contingency for having this property developed in accordance with what Tryon Organics Enterprises is trying to do. So, those are the things that we're going to be looking to do. If we move on to the actions that I'm going to be asking you folks to take here today. The first is to approve amending the closing date in the purchase contract that Tryon Organics, we have with Tryon Organics, to end of November. I've been talking with Dave Huckins yesterday. It was agreed that we should push it out to November, the end of November. Kara, have you received anything?
I haven't heard anything
Okay.
at all.
Those have been my conversations with Mr. Huckins. I've asked him or his attorney to formally relay that to Kara. But I'm asking, if that occurs, we still need to approve amending the closing date in that contract. So the first action I'm be asking you to take is to pass a motion to approve amending the closing date in the purchase contract to November 30th, 2020. Is someone willing to make that motion?
I'll make the motion, Jim.
Thank you, Jane. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second the motion. Tim
Thank you,
Munn.
Tim. Any further questions?
Yeah, Jim,
Discussion?
in the agenda, just make sure I didn't black out somewhere. The agenda says October 30th and you're saying
Correct.
November
And
31st.
then it, unfortunately, subsequent to sending this out, I had a conversation with Dave Huckins and we agreed to, because we're already October, whatever it is,
Yep.
just to give the attorneys more time to be able to complete this. So,
Okay.
okay?
Mhm.
Roll call vote. Dave Demore,
Aye.
Joe Semyon,
Aye.
Todd Rulison,
Aye.
Jane Kelly,
Aye.
Mike Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Joe Gillis,
Aye.
Tim Munn.
Aye.
Motion is approved. The second action would be to approve a resolution authorizing the chairman to execute a deed transferring ownership of the 27 acres parcel on the south side of 107 to Tryon Organics Enterprises for the total sum of $90,000. I emailed everybody last week a copy of the resolution that we're acting on that Kara had prepared. And so does anyone have any questions? Would someone then be willing to make a motion to approve this resolution?
Make that motion, Joe Semyon.
Joe Semyon, is there a second to that?
I'll second it, Jim.
Todd Rulison. Let's do a roll call vote to approve this motion to, excuse me, Tim Munn,
Aye.
Joe Gillis,
Aye.
Mike Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Jane Kelly,
Aye.
Todd Rulison,
Aye.
Joe Semyon,
Aye.
Dave Demore.
Aye.
The third motion would be to authorize a commission payment of 5% or $4,500 to Caldwell Banker Prime Properties in accordance with the IDA's agreement with that company. Would someone be willing to make that motion?
I'll make that motion, Jim.
Todd Rulison, second. Someone make a
I'll
second.
second, Jim.
Mike Fitzgerald. Any further questions? Do a roll call vote. Todd Rulison,
Aye.
Joe Semyon,
Aye.
Dave Demore,
Aye.
Jane Kelly,
Aye.
Mike Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Joe Gillis,
Aye.
Tim Munn.
Aye.
Motion's approved. The final motion would be to authorize hiring CFI to test the sewer main at Tryon at a cost to not exceed $6,000. Would someone be willing to make that motion?
I have a question first.
Sure
though.
thing, Joe.
We're having them test these two mains or these two lines. What happens if there's issues involved? Are we responsible to fix them? Or could that stop the deal?
It could, which is why we need to get this thing done. As I outlined in my email to you about this, one of two things
Right.
could happen, right?
Yeah.
It could be fine, or we could find a leak. And if we find the leak, if there is a leak, it's a matter then of how can we find it and fix it at a reasonable cost? Or is it, it's going to be too expensive to try to find it? You might have, do we have to go out there and dig up 200 feet of main just to find where the leak is?
Right.
The hope is it's in good shape. I mean, the state of New York, when they built that place out there, everything was done top notch. So the hope is that sewer main is still in good shape. But I think we owe it to all parties involved to verify that sewer line is in working condition.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would someone be willing to make that motion?
I'll make the motion, Jim.
Thank you, Jane. Is there a second?
I second.
Joe Semyon? Any further questions? Let's do a roll call vote. Mike Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Joe Gillis,
Aye.
Tim Munn,
Aye.
Dave Demore,
Aye.
Joe Semio,
Aye.
Todd Rulison,
Aye.
Jane Kelly.
Aye.
The motion is approved. Moving on to the proposed Nexus Renewables Solar Project. Their decommissioning plan. We talked about this at the last meeting. The town of Johnstown and myself had a series of comments that regarding their plan that were sent to them. We've received back a revised decommissioning plan that addressed all of those comments. And the big thing was putting in there that the IDA and the town of Johnstown were both parties to that plan. So those changes have all been made. I sent that out to everybody last week. I'm sure you have all read it in fine detail. And so asking today if there's no further questions or comments on it, that we would actually approve the decommissioning plan. The Town of Johnstown Planning Board will be meeting tonight and is prepared to take a similar action. If there are no questions, would someone be willing to make a motion to approve the decommissioning plan?
I'll make that motion, Jim.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second the motion. Tim Munn.
Thank you, Tim. Any further comments or questions? Having none, let's do a roll call vote to approve the decommissioning plan. Dave Demore,
Aye.
Joe Semio,
Aye.
Todd Rulison,
Aye.
Jane Kelly,
Aye.
Mike Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Joe Gillis,
Aye.
Tim Munn.
Aye.
Moving on, the next item is the Nexus's site plan that what they have submitted that I've also sent around for you to review. And again, because they're going to be, this site plan impacts and is on lands that the IDA owns, I think it would be appropriate for the IDA board to approve the site plan. The key item on here, as I've been discussing with Nexus, is verification that all of their electric lines along County Road 117 and along the access road that'll go from County Road 117 to their site will all be underground. Okay, that's the key thing. And so that is going to be on the plan. The site plan in itself within the area that they're going to be leasing, it's basically, you know, a whole series of panels and access driveways for them to get, you know, around the site. And so, you know, again, the town planning board is set tonight to approve it. And we're recommending that the IDA board take a similar action here this morning. Any questions?
Yeah, Jim, looking at the plan, I'm noticing they've added a bunch of landscaping along sort of the southern edge of the property. Is there a need for buffering? Given
That was at
its
the
location?
request of the town planning board, Dave, to buffer the adjoining properties, particularly for Vireo Health and the adjoining property, the next one that would abut the lands that they will be occupying. So I thought that was a good gesture on the part of the planning board to try and visually screen their equipment and the panels to the best of their ability from companies who might be in the park. Okay? Okay, would someone be willing to make a motion to approve Nexus's site plan?
Make that motion.
Joe Semio, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it, Jim.
Thank you, Mike. Any further discussion? Let's do a roll call vote. Let's see, who can I start with this time? Todd Rulison,
Aye.
Jane Kelly,
Aye.
Mike Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Joe Gillis,
Aye.
Tim Munn,
Aye.
Joe Semyon,
Aye.
Dave Demore.
All right.
Last item for approval here, we had previously granted approval to Nexus for a 20-foot wide easement that would be along the, that would go from County Road 117 back to their property, and it would be along the eastern property line with Vireo. Once that easement was approved, they went to the Berkshire Fire District to verify how big of a road that they wanted. Berkshire Fire District requested the road itself be 20 feet wide so they can get their equipment in and out in case of a fire. Well, that left no room to put their, on the sides of the road, to put in their underground conduits and cables. So Nexus has come back and asked to have that easement width modified from 20 feet to 30 feet. And that seems to be reasonable. So asking for the board to approve granting a 30-foot versus a 20-foot wide easement for that access road and their underground cables.
I'll make that motion, Jim.
Thank you, Todd.
I'll second, Jim.
Thank you, Jane. Any questions? Roll call vote. Mike Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Joe Gillis,
Aye.
Tim Munn,
Aye.
Jane Kelly,
Aye.
Todd Rulison,
Aye.
Joe Semyon,
Aye.
Dave Demore.
All right.
Just updates. The lease agreement with Nexus is, I think, in final form. We had a series of final comments that went out to them back on October 1st. All of those requested changes have been made. And Kara, I know, is taking one final look at it herself. But once we all agree that the language is set, we will have the chairman execute that document and that taken care of. So the other work with respect to the sales tax exemptions that the IDA board approved, Kara is working with Nexus's attorneys on the documents that need to be executed to have those sales tax exemptions provided. Nexus is going to be using 4 LLCs. There are actually going to be 4 individual solar projects on the property that they're leasing. There'll be 3 of them are kind of smaller ones, and solar LLC number 4 will be the largest. And we're anticipating, Kara, is that still it's scheduled at our next meeting? We would be asking them to approve these documents?
Yes, that's the plan. So they're working on getting those LLCs formed, and then we're gonna connect on getting all the documentation together. So I'm working on the draft documents right now. Once they approve one set, then we'll just repeat them for the others.
Gotcha. Okay. And I added on, just for on the agenda, Nexus is also executing pilot agreements with both the Broad Alban Perth School District and the town of Johnstown. They're executing both what are called pilots and voluntary contribution agreements. The voluntary contribution agreements are done to deal, for the school districts, to deal with impacts that these pilot payments could have on their tax cap. And because of that tax cap, what they do now is they actually calculate what the total amount of pilot payments would be made under a pilot agreement over the 15-year term of a pilot agreement. What they then do is agree to whatever that total is, they make a 50% of that is paid upfront as a cash contribution to the school district. And the school district does that because that cash contribution doesn't impact their tax cap, whereas the pilot payments do. And I don't know the details of which, but that's what Nexus agreed to do with the Broad Alban Perth School District. And those documents have all been executed. So they are done with the town of Perth. And we are working, I'm working with the town of Johnstown to get their documents executed also. So those, I just wanted to make sure that those were all done, and Nexus honored their commitments to execute pilot agreements with both of those entities. All right, any questions on the Nexus project?
Jim, a quick question.
Sure.
Since they're developing 4 separate LLCs, does that mean we have to have 4 separate lease agreements, or can we incorporate it into one? Because I'm just thinking about, the percentage of the power generation we get, and if it's going to be for individuals, or if we're going to consolidate them into one reporting entity.
Kara, the intent is to have one lease agreement, correct?
So you're going to have the one lease agreement that's been circulated and discussed at recent meetings. That lease agreement, they are going to sublease to these LLCs as to their respective parts. Then we're going to have our lease back. So it's a lot of leases back and forth so that we can maintain the jurisdiction and control over the site in order to allow for the sales tax exemption. So for reporting purposes, technically they will have to report 4 different reports. The LLCs will have to, because each LLC will receive its own sales tax authority. And so they'll have to report back to the IDA separately on that authorization.
Okay. Moving on to new business. Attached to your agenda is the proposed 2021 IDA budget. And if you could all take a look at that, on your agenda, based upon the discussion and input provided at your meeting last month, the following projects initiatives were included into the proposed 2021, not 2020 budget. Building cleanup at Tryon, we put it in at $75,000. Develop shovel-ready sites at $50,000. Website upgrading at $12,000. Desktop environmental assessments at $10,000. Food site certification at $7,500, and the Tryon development area at $5,000. Those were all plugged in at various locations within the budget. And as was discussed at your meeting last month, all of these projects and initiatives would only move forward, if the revenues from some of the transactions that are pending out there came forward and provided us with the revenues that would be needed to fund these projects. So, but they are all in there. And with those inclusions, the total proposed budget for 2021 is $235,160, which is down from this year's budget of $277,810. Everything else that we discussed at the last meeting has stayed constant. And I did receive input from the governance committee relative to salaries for both the executive director and CFO, and those were plugged into the budget accordingly. Any questions on the proposed budget?
Jim, just on the proposed budget, other non-operating revenues, that's just thinking the budget is 227.
Yep, Mike, what we do is we start at the bottom. which is total expenditures. So we come up with 235,160. Then we go up top on the revenue side. And we talk about some of our other operating revenues. Our best guess, we got 1,600, okay? Then non-operating revenues, we plug in what we guess is investment earnings, municipal subsidies, and then we subtract those revenues from the total expenditures, and the difference in the balance is 227,360. That's what is identified to be coming out of our capital reserve.
Okay.
That's the balance each year that we take and allocate out of our reserve fund to fund the budget.
Okay.
Okay?
So we haven't projected any potential sales in there.
Correct. Until
Okay.
those sales occur, and so we're trying to be on the conservative side there.
That's
Okay?
fine. I just wanted to clarify it.
Yep. Any other questions? Very good. Would someone be willing to make a motion to approve the 2021 Tryon and IDA budget as presented and to authorize the executive director to file that budget onto Paris? Which
I'll
we are
make that
required to
motion,
do
Jim.
by the end of this month. I'm sorry,
I offer to make the motion, Jim. Dave.
Dave. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Ted? Any other questions? Let's do a roll call vote. Joe Gillis,
Aye.
Mike Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Jane Kelly,
Aye.
Todd Rulison,
Aye.
Joe Semyon,
Aye.
Dave Demore,
Aye.
and Tim Munn.
Aye.
Motion's approved. Item B, the former Johnstown Renewables property. Just wanted to make you all aware that on October 20th, there will be a public auction conducted on that property. To be sold at that auction would be the 5.2 acre parcel of land and the partially completed 15,250 square foot building that sits on that property. And the auction is being conducted by Blackbird Asset Services out of Williamsville, New York. That is the same firm that conducted the auction of the assets that were on the property before. And this will be an on-site auction. We have notified certain companies in the in the Johnstown Industrial Park who might have an interest in that property. I've also notified Ron Peters so that he could pass the word on to any businesses that he knows is looking for property. So there's no action to take, just an FYI of what's going on here. So it'll be interesting to see what happens on October 20th at this auction.
Would we ever want to bid on it?
With the IDA?
Yes. We're looking for sites. I don't know what they're asking or starting at, but
I have not seen an asking price yet, but I haven't checked in a week or so, Joe, on their website to see if they have established a minimum price.
we're looking for different sites out there.
How much are you looking to put in for it, Joe?
Oh, I have no idea. I mean, it could go for $10,000. Who the heck knows? I don't know. I mean, you've seen auctions go, a building goes for $1 or it could be 100,000. I don't know. I guess it's just a thought. But it's obviously a valuable parcel. They bought it. Never completed it. So if you can maybe find out what range they might be looking at, Jim, that would be great.
Okay. I will check to see if they have a minimum bid.
And this doesn't affect any of the sales tax recapture that we did way back
No,
yonder.
that's all completed.
Well
We
done.
recaptured everything and the lease and pilot have been terminated. So we are officially free of this property. And
Good.
what if we want to buy it? We'll be back into owning it. So let me check on that, and I'll email everybody with what I find.
Thank you.
Okay?
If we were to purchase it, though, that in effect would take it off the tax rolls, would it not?
Correct.
But right now they're just paying for land anyways. Nothing was on the building.
Correct. They have not added an assessed valuation for the partially completed building.
Right.
But the value of the land, correct, whatever that payment is, which is not a lot, but it would be, that would no longer be paid. Let me check, and I will, if there, one way or the other, if there is a number available, I'll let you know. If there is no number available, I'll communicate that to the board also.
Great. Thank you, Jim.
Okay.
Hey, Jim, this is Joe Gillis. I just have
Yes.
a thought on that. If it was available, what would we be willing to pay for it, and what would be our future endeavors for it? To take it over, use it like an incubator building? Is that what Joe Simeone's idea is?
I'm not sure, Joe. The building is not finished, so what we would probably have to be looking to do is one of two things. Would be to market it ourselves as is and see if there's a potential buyer out there who would buy the building and finish it themselves, or look to finish the building, put money into finishing the building somehow, and then look to market it that way.
Mm-hmm.
To me, those would be, if you're going to buy, those would be your two options.
Gotcha.
I just don't know right now what the cost would be, what type of cost we're looking at to finish the building. Okay, I don't know, how much of the exterior is the roof done? I don't know about interior wise, is all the electrical work in, is all of the HVAC system, plumbing, is all of that done? I don't know the extent of that. And so I don't know what type of an additional investment beyond the purchase price there would be to finish that building, and then what would you be able to get for it?
Mm-hmm. Well, I was just looking at the revenue stream coming into the IDA is what my thought process was. I don't know if that's what Joe's thought process was.
I mean, there's potential. I mean, if no one's bidding on it, or you get it for next to nothing, I think, you got 5 acres out there that could be quite valuable. As we know, we don't have a lot of space out there, So it'd be for a company. So, no, if you can find out some information, that'd be great, Jim.
Okay.
Just a random thought.
Next item, the vandalism at the Tryon Technology Park. As I've communicated to you via email, vandals recently damaged windows and doors in Building 3. Windows were smashed with baseball bats, graffiti was painted on walls, floors, cabinets were smashed and destroyed. It's really a shame what happened. The Sheriff's Department is conducting an investigation. It is ongoing. People of interest have been identified, and they are meeting and interviewing those folks as we speak. But because of that damage, there was jagged glass left in doors and windows that was a serious health and safety threat. In addition, there were piles of broken glass located all over the place on the outside of the building. And the fact that these doors had glass smashed from them, obviously anybody could still try to walk into the building. And that's where the concern was, is that they cut themselves on this glass. So we needed to proceed with some emergency repairs. All the exterior doors needed to be secured, and the broken exterior windows and doors needed to be cleaned up and the openings secured with plywood. And we received a proposal from Brett Ramonde to perform all of these emergency repairs. His proposal was to not exceed $6,000 to have that work done. That work has been completed, and the total final cost was $5,500. I have notified NBT Mang Insurance Company, who represents NYMER, who is the entity that Fulton County has its insurance policy with for these buildings. I filed an incident report with NBT Mang. I've spoken with them, provided details about the vandalism, the emergency repair work. Met with Bill Van Gorder to review the damage and repair work. I spoke with a representative from NYMER directly. I've sent him the proposal, the invoice, and our check. It appears, based upon my last conversation with NYMER, that they will be reimbursing the IDA for some or all of this cost. That's the latest that I have. I don't have a confirmation exactly verifying that, but verbally, that's what I was advised. So regardless of that, we have to authorize a payment of $5,500 to Brett Ramonde for performing these emergency repairs to Building 3 at the Tryon Technology Park. Would someone be willing to make that motion?
I make that motion.
Thank you, Joe. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion, Tim.
Tim. Any questions or comments?
Do they know who may have done this, Jim? Do have any leads on
They
this?
have a number of people identified, Tim, that they are interviewing as we speak.
Would we ever consider cameras like at the entrances of the park, just to sort of get ideas of what vehicles are going in, what time frame?
Certainly consider that, Joe.
They're not so much buildings, you know, I mean, but you know, maybe just a couple things that might help us in future things. I know a lot of people still go in and out for obviously tenants and stuff, but we could cross off certain ones saying, well, they don't belong at 3 o'clock in the morning, you know? If that's what
We can certainly take a look at that.
Okay, just a thought, or the county
Okay.
might have some ideas how to do that
Yep.
too.
Any further discussion? We'll do a roll call vote on authorizing this payment of $5,500. Tim Munn,
Aye.
Dave Demore,
Aye.
Joe Gillis,
Aye.
Joe Semyon,
Aye.
Mike Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Todd Rulison,
Aye.
Jane Kelly.
Aye.
Motion is passed. Last item for our open session today. As part of the old electric system that we used to own and operate out there, there are 14 pole-mounted and 9 ground-mounted transformers that exist. Back in June, I talked to you about them, and you authorized the sale of all those transformers that are no longer needed at Tryon. Chris Stenkes, the planner in the planning department, has been working on this and has been speaking with a company called Northeast Transformer Services in Preble, New York, who purchases used transformers. NTS is willing to purchase certain transformers as shown on the agenda. They'll pay us approximately $600 for 8 of the 14 pole-mounted transformers, and $1,500, these approximate, for the 9 ground-mounted transformers. But before they would commit to buying the other 6 pole-mounted transformers, it wants to have them tested for PCBs. Apparently, they are of an age when PCBs were used in transformers. All of the other ones were of an age where PCBs were no longer used, so they're okay with those. But they want to have these tested. They put us in touch with a laboratory that does this work. It will cost us about $250 ballpark to have these 6 transformers tested. If they test negative, NTS would buy them for about $225. If they test positive, they won't take them, but then we're going to have to figure out how we would dispose of them. And that's something that we're looking at too right now. So recommending that authorization be given to have these 6 transformers tested at an estimated cost of about $250. It'd be great if they test negative. That way we could get rid of all of these transformers and we're going to make a few dollars in doing so.
So the 250 is not for each one. It's
Total.
6 total
And
for.
hoping it's going to be under that, Joe, but just trying to give us a little cushion because we're not sure what the shipping costs are going to be. We know what the costs are for the actual lab test, but shipping costs, and do we have to buy glass containers to put this stuff in and stuff? So it shouldn't exceed $250.
Great, that's reasonable.
Hey, Jim, assuming the testing does cost $250 on the nose, they're willing to pay $225. It's a loss of $50 for us. Not that that's a huge deal breaker, but is there any chance that they'd be willing to just match the cost of testing? Should they be willing to take them off our hands?
No.
Okay.
That's, I think, guys, given what, I think the actual test from the laboratory, I think it was around $20. Okay, so 6 of those is 120. We've asked for 250 to, again, cover, we're not sure how they have to be shipped, the container that has to be shipped in, the glass, is there anything special in terms of the types of glass that they allow plastic, whatever the case may be. So I'm hoping when all is said and done, our costs are going to be under $225, so that we will be able to either break even or make a few dollars on this. But I wanted to have an authorization to up to $250 just to make sure we had enough to pay for these costs.
Okay.
Okay.
We're just hoping to get them out of there.
That's correct.
In the game.
So, would someone make a motion for that testing of up to $250 or approximately $250?
I'll make that motion, Jim.
Todd Rulison, I think Joe Semyon was also offering us, so we'll put him down as a second.
Okay.
Any further discussion or questions? Let's take a roll call vote. Joe Semyon.
You're right on first. Yes. Hey.
Todd Rulison.
Aye.
Jane Kelly.
She
had a
left
little-
for
left.
Yep. Mike Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Joe Gillis.
Aye.
Tim Munn.
Aye.
Dave Demore.
All right.
Motion's passed. Okay. That's all I have for open session. I would like to request an executive session to discuss the proposed acquisition, sale, or lease of real property. Would someone be willing to make that motion?
I'll make that motion, Jim.
Dave Demore. See you, Tim.
No, I'm sorry about that. I hit the wrong button.
No, he meant Tim Beckett.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, Tim Beckett just left the meeting. So is there a second to that motion? To go
I'll
into
second, Jim.
Thank you, Mike. Let's do a roll call vote. Dave Demore,
All right.
Joe Semyon,
Aye.
Todd Rulison, Mike Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Aye.
Joe Gillis,
Aye.
Tim Munn.
Aye.
It is 9:02 a.m. and we are going into executive session.
I'll move.
Second,
I'll
Second.
second it.
Dave Demore,
Aye.
Todd Rulison,
Aye.
Mike Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Joe Gillis,
Aye.
Tim Munn, 9:48. Okay, we're adding 2 items to the agenda. First would be to authorize granting an option on approximately 96 acres of land to Vireo Health in the Tryon Technology Park, with the option being from today's date through June 30th of 2021 at a option price of $2,500. Would someone be willing to make that as a motion?
I'll do that on behalf of Joe
I
Simeon.
will.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Todd Rulson. All right, we're gonna do a roll call vote. Mike Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Tim Munn,
Aye.
Dave Demore,
Aye.
Todd Rulison,
Aye.
Joe Gillis.
Aye.
Second item adding to the agenda is a proposed Benjamin Moore expansion project. Benjamin Moore, as you recall, 2 years ago, came to the IDA seeking financial incentives for a proposed expansion project. Unfortunately, that did not happen at that time. They have submitted a project application again to the IDA for a project at their site here in Johnstown. They are proposing to construct approximately 120,000 square foot addition to their existing facility in the Johnstown Industrial Park. They are looking at a total investment of upwards of $75 million, of which about 17 or 18 million would be the construction of a building, and about $54 million worth of equipment that would be going in that application. As I said, we've received a project application. The project number would be 1701-20-01-A. And with this, we will need to initiate a seeker review, and looking for this to be a type 1 action under seeker. And so the benefits that the financial incentives that Benjamin Moore is requesting are both sales tax and property tax exemptions. Since the requested benefits will exceed $100,000, a public hearing will be required. And the proposal is to have a public hearing scheduled or in 2 weeks. It would be here on October 27th, 2020 at 10 a.m. in the offices of the Fulton County Industrial Development Agency. And Kara has prepared the initial resolution to schedule that public hearing, which I'll ask you to vote on here in a second. And we also need to initiate the seeker process. And I'm proposing that we do this because the City of Johnstown Planning Board started their own seeker review last week. I don't believe they're doing a coordinated review because we've received no notification. So I'm going to request that we do our own coordinated seeker review to make sure that it's done. So any questions so far on this proposed project? With that, I'd like someone to make, asking for a motion to classify the proposed project as a type 1 action under seeker, propose that the IDA serve as a seeker lead agency, and to authorize the distribution of the EAF to all involved agencies. Would someone be willing to make that motion?
Make that motion, Tim.
I'll second.
I'll do a roll call vote. Mike Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Dave Demore,
Aye.
Tim Munn,
Aye.
Joe Gillis,
Aye.
Todd Rulison.
Aye.
And the second motion would be to approve a resolution to schedule a public hearing relating to the Benjamin Moore and Company expansion project. Again, this would be scheduling the public hearing to be held on October 27th at 10 a.m. Here in the IDA's office. Would someone be willing to make that motion to approve this resolution?
I'll make that motion.
Todd Rulison, is there a second to that motion?
Second it, Jim.
Joe Gillis.
Thank you, Mike. Roll call vote. Joe Gillis,
Aye.
Todd Rulison,
Aye.
Tim Munn,
Aye.
Dave Demore,
Aye.
Mike Fitzgerald.
Aye.
That completes all the work on the adding on to the agenda. Looking now for a motion to close the meeting.
So moved.
Someone has to step in because Joe Semion's not here. Dave, second to that motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tim. Roll call vote to end the meeting. Dave Demore,
Aye.
Mike Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Tim Munn,
Aye.
Todd Rulison,
Aye.
Joe Gillis.
Aye.
Thank you, folks. That is all for today's meeting. Our next meeting will be on Tuesday, November 10th. I'll touch base. I'm sure I'll be communicating with everybody on some of the follow-up to this meeting. Thanks for your
Jim.
time. Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.